Okay, so continuing 3.6 on composition of functions. We are in trig here. That's what this little sign here means. It's not me spelling fog of x, it's f of g of x is what they say. And the other way that you might see this written is basically it's saying you take the second letter, whatever that is. In this case, it happens to be g. And you take g and you plug the whole equation, that whole function g, into x for function f, is basically what that's saying. So basically what we're saying is, if I go find f of g of x, I need to take all of this right here, which is a 3x plus 5, and I plug it all in here for x, is what I'm doing. So to find the domain, we have to define the domain by thinking about the domain in terms of the other two items. This right here, I see absolutely no roots, no even roots, so I don't have to worry about that. I don't see any fractions with x's in the denominator, so this one's from negative infinity to infinity, all real numbers. This one is a straight line. This one's also negative infinity to infinity because there is no even roots, there is no fractions with x's in the denominator, so this one's okay as well. So I take the entire item, like I said, g, and I plug it in, and there it is. But now all I'm going to have to do is FOIL. So I take those two items, I'm going to FOIL them, 3x times 3x, and so forth. So 3x times 3x is 9x squared, 3x times 5 is 15x, 5 times 3x is 15x, 5 times 5 is 25, and I have that minus 1 still out there, so I combine all my like terms to get 9x squared plus a 30x plus 24. Since the domain of each of those is like that, when they overlap, the domain is also going to be from negative infinity to infinity. Since the domain of f and g are all real numbers, that's why the domain of this is also all real numbers. Alright, so g of f of x, that means is now I'm going to take f and plug that into g. So f was x squared minus 1, so I take all of that and plug it into g. So now I take that through to both. 3 times x squared is 3x squared. 3 times negative 1 is negative 3, plus 5. I combine it together to get 3x squared plus 2. Once again, since the domains for both of those were all real numbers, then this is also going to be all real numbers. Negative infinity to infinity. Now, I'm going to, what this is saying is, hey, take a 2 and plug that into g. Okay. 3 times 2 is 6. 6 plus 5 is 11. Then take 11, which was your answer for g, and plug that into f. So that would be 11 squared minus 1, which is 121 minus 1. So you get 120. So the point is, first step with this is you take a 2, plug it into g, and get an answer. And whatever that answer is what you plug in for f. So you kind of start in and work out when you're doing composition of functions.
Mr. Callahan, I need your John Hancock on these reports.
John Hancock. It's Herbie Hancock.
So we have f of x and g of x. So once again, we got to sit there and think about overlapping. This one, once again, like the last problem, negative infinity to infinity. There's no roots. There's no even roots, I should say. And on top of no even roots, there is no fractions with x's in the denominator. Over here, we do have a root. So according to our definition, you take whatever's underneath and you set it greater than or equal to 0. So this is all real numbers, and this one goes from 0 to infinity, because anything that is 0 or greater will work. So where the two overlap, negative infinity to infinity, 0 to infinity, they overlap at 0 to infinity. So I go to find the domains of each, which is what I just did for you. And that's from 0 to infinity, which, once again, we just discussed that. So I have my two domains. So now I take all of this and I plug it in. So the square root of x squared, a square root of a square cancels out. So it's x minus 16, really, is what I have. But the domain for that is where they overlap. So the domain is going to be 0 to infinity because it's where they overlapped. That's what I said to look for. That's why you looked at each domain separately. So now we do the reverse, I'm assuming, when we take f and plug that in. So I take f and I plug that in. And remember, we already went through what the domains for each of these are. So I take f, I plug that in there, so I get the square root of x squared minus 16. Now, we know that they overlap from 0 to infinity. However, this created a brand new problem for us. This created square root of x squared minus 16. Because it created a brand new problem, now I need to look to see if there's any brand new stipulations, and there is. Because underneath has to be greater than or equal to 0. Which means when I square both sides, I'm really moving the 16 over. And I end up solving this and going, oh look, I get plus or minus 4. If you were to graph this right here, alright, if you were to graph that in your graphing calculator, it goes off on either side. From negative 4 to 4, it's not what's in between, it's what's on the outsides. So really, it's what's on the outside. From negative infinity to negative 4, and from 4 to infinity, it's what's on the outsides, not in between them. So looking to see where they overlap is fine. Except the problem is, where they overlap is from 0 to infinity. But the problem is that 0 doesn't work here. 1 doesn't work here. 2 doesn't work in here. 3 doesn't work in here. So you only use what overlaps in these problems. Alright, so now we have some tables to take a look at. And it's several values of two functions, f and g, are listed in the following tables. So there's x and there's f of x. There's x and there is g of x. So it says find, when you plug in a 2 for g, you get an answer, and then take that answer and plug that in for f. All this is following the table. This is f of g of 2. So what this is saying is, okay, find your g table. Here it is. Okay, plug in a 2. So when I plug in a 2, I get 1 as my answer. So really what it's saying is take that 1 and plug 1 in to f. So I plug a 1 into f and I end up getting 3. So following the tables, I get my answer to be 3. So g of 2 is 1. That's what I said when I plugged that in. F of 1 is 3. So there's your answer for that one. G of f of 2, what that means is now I look at f first. I plug a 2 in for f, and there it is. I end up getting 4 as an answer. Then I come over here and I go, oh, 4. When I plug in a 4, I get 2 as my answer. So g of 4 is 2. Alright, and we will continue on with more tables when we come back.